Welcome to the Parsha Perspective. Each week, we will delve deep in a weekly Torah portion to find a practical and insightful way to enhance your daily life. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Rabbi Shalom Yamini, and each week we will look into the weekly Torah portion to find practical and insightful ways to enhance your daily life. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of our homeland, Eretz Yisroel. May Kadosh Baruch Hu, may God protect our brave soldiers, and may God return all the hostages from Gaza immediately. This week's Parsha Perspective is in loving memory of Edward Ben Efraim, Shlomo Ben Edward, and Yirachmiel Daniel Ben Gedalia. May their souls be uplifted and may their memories be a blessing. This week's Torah portion is Parshas Va'era, Seeds of Redemption. Our Parsha begins with God responding to Moshe's outcry about why he allowed the situation to worsen. Before demanding from Pharaoh that he let the Jewish people go, the Egyptians provided straw to make cement. However, after Moshe approached Pharaoh, the Egyptians stopped supplying the necessary materials to make cement. And despite this, they were required to maintain the same production quota, forcing them to work even harder under even more impossible conditions. And so in response to Moshe Rabbeinu's outcry, God reveals one of his most holy names, a name that has not been revealed to our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And God assures Moshe Rabbeinu that he has heard the cries of the Jewish people, and he promises that he will punish the Egyptians and redeem his nation from their suffering and from their exile. Our Torah portion details the first 7 of 10 plagues that God brought upon Egypt to force Pharaoh to free the Jewish people. They are Dam, Tzvardeya, Kinim, Orev, Dever, Shchin, and Barad. Blood, frogs, lice, wild animals, death of cattle, boils, and fiery hail. Each plague followed a set pattern. The plague itself lasted 1 week, preceded by 3 weeks of warnings from Moshe and Aaron. A dramatic moment occurs towards the end of the plague of Barad, fiery hail. Pharaoh calls Moshe and admits that I have sinned and God is the righteous one and my people and I are guilty. And this acknowledgement seemed to signal a change in Pharaoh's heart. However, as soon as the plague was over, Pharaoh hardened his resolve and refused to release the Jewish people. However, a question comes to mind. The Parsha opens up in the middle of a conversation between God and Moshe Rabbeinu. As mentioned, God reveals a name not previously used, a name that conveys eternity and the infinity of his existence, past, present, and future in one. But why now? Why does God choose to reveal this name to Moshe and not to our forefathers Abraham, Yitzchak, or Yaakov? Why does he reveal it at this particular moment rather than earlier at the burning bush when he first gave Moshe the mission to redeem the Jewish people? Furthermore, why does the pasuk seem to introduce an entirely new conversation and shift the narrative into a different direction? The Netziv, Rav Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin, the head of the famous Volozhin Yeshiva, gives an interesting explanation in his Torah commentary, Heimek HaDavar. And he quotes Rashi, who explains that God's response to Moshe was stern, addressing Moshe's words at the end of last week's Torah portion, Lama hariyesa le'am hazeh, why have you brought harm upon these people? Moshe seemed to be questioning why God's actions led to the increased suffering after his confrontation with Pharaoh. And God's reply was direct and forceful, correcting Moshe's perception and addressing the deeper implication of his question. The Netziv explains that Moshe implied that the enslavement, that the suffering of the Jewish people were a result of natural causes. And he knew that their growing numbers, that their growing influence and strength triggered Pharaoh's fear of their presence in Egypt. God, however, countered this view by revealing his eternal name, a name that signifies his infinite existence and complete control over all events, past, present, and future. And through this name, God emphasizes that the pain and the suffering endured by the Jewish people were not random or circumstantial, but an intentional part of his divine plan. And now he reassures Moshe Rabbeinu that he has heard the cries of his people and will avenge their suffering, and setting the stage for their exodus from Egypt. However, the Lubavitch Rebbe, Rav Menachem Lishnerson, gives a deeper and more profound explanation. The Rebbe explores the differences between the names of God mentioned in the opening psukim of our Parsha. And note that I will mention those names differently because I do not want to mention God's name in vain, and you can see the correct spelling in the first psukim of our Parsha. The name revealed to our forefathers, Kel Shakai, the Almighty Shakai, conveys the idea of God saying, it is enough. In Hebrew, dai means enough, shedai, that it is enough. This name reflects God's act of contraction, limiting his infinite essence to sustain the world in a measured manner. It represents a divine presence sufficient for maintaining creation, but one does not break through the natural order and transcends boundaries. In contrast, the name revealed to Moshe is Yud-Kei-Vav-Kei, referred to as Shem HaEtzem, the name of God's essence. And this name is entirely beyond nature and any limitations of this physical world. It embodies God's transcendence, unity, and eternal existence, past, present, and future as one. And because it is above boundaries, no level of enslavement, no exile, no limitation can obstruct its holiness. It signifies God's ability to bring redemption in a way that defies the natural constraints. The Rebbe explains that the name Yud-Kei-Vav-Kei is intrinsically connected to Geula, to redemption. And for this name to be revealed, the Jewish people needed to experience a deep, a tangible exile. Their suffering in Egypt prepared them for a redemption, for a Geula of extraordinary magnitude, one that is demonstrating God's transcendence over all natural and human limitations. And this level of revelation could have not been experienced by our forefathers, as their mission was not connected to the redemption, but to laying the foundation for our holiness and our faith. And even though they descended to Egypt, their role did not involve the enslavement that planted the seeds of redemption. Each of us has a neshama, a divine soul, a spark of that infinity, Yud-Kei-Vav-Kei, that gives us life, meaning, direction, and holiness. And yet this essence is only often revealed when we are challenged by circumstances beyond our control. In moments of challenges and hardships, when our human limitations seem immeasurable, we discover that true strength, true purpose, true geula, true redemption comes from God alone. And as the plagues were unfolding in Egypt, God revealed himself through this name to demonstrate a love, to demonstrate a redemption that transcends nature. The miracles, the plagues that struck Egypt could not be duplicated or explained by human reasoning, as they showed God's power and the redemption promised entirely beyond the natural order. And God's message to Moshe was clear. The seeds of redemption, planted within exile, were about to bloom. In the same way, the divine spark within every Jewish soul often shines brightest during moments of pain and adversity, similar to the unity and resilience displayed in the aftermath of the tragedies of October 7th. In the face of unimaginable challenges, the hidden strength, the unity of the Jewish people emerged, reminding us that even in the darkest times, redemption's seeds are present, waiting to flourish. And the Rebbe concludes that within every exile, it finds its roots in the Egyptian exile. And every Geula finds and is tied to our Geula, our exodus from Egypt. And although the darkness of the current exile may seem to overshadow the light of Geula, of redemption, our mission is to uncover and nurture those seeds by focusing on our spiritual liberation, our spiritual redemption. And we could bring about the ultimate redemption with the coming of Mashiach and the rebuilding of the third Beis Hamikdash. This profound lesson given to us by the Lubavitcher Rebbe is as relevant today as it was in 1961 when this lesson, when this sikha, when this talk was delivered. For many, October 7th became a watershed moment, a day that has transformed us entirely. It moved us from standing on the sidelines to stepping in the front row in our fight for existence in Israel and abroad. While many of us have already risen to this challenge, each of us need to continue to push ourselves towards a spiritual redemption. And this begins with a commitment to studying the Torah and observing mitzvahs while strengthening the community, the foundation of the Jewish people. And by aligning our actions with God's will and proclaim His name, His oneness to the world, we channel a physical redemption that mirrors spiritual growth and paving the way for the Geula Amitis V'Hashlema, the ultimate redemption, a time when truth of God's oneness will be revealed to all and the world will finally reach its divine purpose with the coming of Mashiach. In our daily life, it is imperative that we understand that moments when we feel most limited, when the challenges seem too great to bear, are often the very moments that hold the seeds of our greatest potential. When we think we have reached the end of what we can handle, it is an opportunity to push further and discover the strength we didn't realize we had. Challenges are not meant to break us, but to reveal what we are truly capable of. and with a positive attitude and the belief that we can rise above, we can achieve what once felt impossible, uncovering the spark of greatness that lies within each of us. There's a profound quote that I once heard. The essence of each person is a divine spark, limitless in its capacity to bring light to the world and reshape our reality. Have a great weekend and good Shabbos. Thank you for tuning in to the Parsha Perspective. Check out our website, theparshaperspective.com. Send thoughts and comments to theparshaperspective@gmail.com. Till next time, thanks for listening.